So Gilbert Arenas made a video talking about the Warriors ruined Steph Curry's career. So Gilbert Arenas made a video talking about the Warriors ruined Steph Curry's career, and he is absolutely right. And it starts with the owners and Joe Lacob, and the organization, because Steph Curry was drafted before the Lacob era. This was the lowest franchise in the NBA, and Steph Curry single-handedly made it to number one. And you look at Lacob. Lacob wanted to trade him. People forget that he wanted to trade him for Bogut, and he wanted to keep Monte Ellis because he thought a two-guard lineup wouldn't work. However, Jerry West spoke out about it. Like, he was like, no way. And the good news was that even though he wasn't willing to listen to Jerry, the Bucks wanted Monte. They did not want Steph because of his ankle issues. So that's stage one. Stage two, Joe Lacob wanted to trade Clay for Kevin Love, and Jerry West stepped in and said, absolutely not. You look at just some of the decisions happening too. You look at Draymond. I love Draymond. Draymond is spectacular. They don't win the championships without him. But at the same time, he got Kevin Durant to go out the door. If Steph Curry and KD played together still, Steph Curry is one of the only guys in NBA history um, who has won multiple championships without a top 75 player. If you give him KD from 2016 to now, there's no shot that 2022 was the only year they win an NBA championship. Right now, Steph Curry would have at least somewhere from 5 to 7 total championships. So that's part one. Part two, you get a young player in Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole in 2023 was not the same as 2022, and it's because Draymond Green punched the confidence out of him. You saw Jordan Poole, no more fresh fade. Now he had a depression beard, and you just punched the confidence out of him. He's never been the same. That was the guy who's supposed to be the future and take over for this franchise. Now let's talk about former general manager Bob Myers and the terrible decision making. The Warriors tank. They just tank. They said we need a rebuild. And partly due to Joe Lake, because he said, I want to focus on the future. Okay. You want to do a two timeline where after Curry retires, we're not going to be the worst team in the league. And that bothers me because Steve Kerr, you were there on the Chicago Bulls, and you saw what happened when they did the same thing. They became the worst team in the league and have yet to make a finals. But you're like, all right, we got the second pick in the draft in one of the most loaded drafts in NBA history, and you go James Wiseman. First of all, Minnesota was willing to pick swap with you if you trade picks again next year, and you said no. Because Steve Kerr didn't want Anthony Edwards. He thought the effort wasn't there. Fine, there's a plethora of talented players. There's a Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton. There is a LaMelo Ball, even a Obi Toppin who contribute. And you go with that guy who barely played a few games in college, James Wiseman, who is now out the league. Fine, everybody misses or gets a bust once in a while, even though everyone in hindsight said draft LaMelo or Maxey or Halliburton, but you missed. Well, then there's another draft available. You have the 7th and 14th pick in the draft. Steve Kerr wants Franz Wagner, and what does Joe Lacob and Bob Myers do? They say, well, why do you want Franz? We want someone Giannis Antetokounmpo like, and you go Kuminga. And Steve Kerr, whether you want to say good or bad things about him, it never worked out with him and Kuminga. Kuminga got DNP'd for like months until Butler goes down. Well, you have the 14th pick in the draft, and you have a Şengün available. And who do you go? You go Moses Moody, who is just awful. He should be out the league. If it wasn't for Golden State keeping him employed, he is finished. So just think about what I said. You could have had Steph Curry around. Let's just say we go LaMelo, right? LaMelo, Wagner, and Şengün. That would be a number one seed, and Steph Curry wins at least 2 more championships. You don't go LaMelo. Let's say worst case scenario, you wanted a big, you go Toppin. Toppin can contribute, and you still have Maxey. Not Maxey. You still have Franz and Şengün. That's still 2 more championships. You go Halliburton, Wagner, I mean, my goodness, you could have had such a great young talented team. This was your whole concept, right? The two timelines, the we want to be. You would have been. I argue that team probably could have won a championship after Steph retires, but you didn't end up doing that. Okay, well, you have who you have now, and you you end up trading Jordan Poole. This is on Dunleavy now. This is Dunleavy era. You trade Jordan Poole. You trade Rollins. You trade a first round pick to the Wizards. Well, what did you get in return? You know who was available? Advia, Danny Advia. No. For a team that claims they want size so badly, you go 1 year of aged Chris Paul, and that season ended up being terrible. Danny's averaging 26 points per game with 7 assists, 7 rebounds on 47% shooting. Then you have Lauri Markkanen available. Lauri is not yet on a max contract. Danny Ainge stated, I want a first round, I want Moses Moody, and I want Brandon Pajemski. And I don't know what type of dirt Joe Lacob or Pajemski has on either Joe Lacob or Steve Kerr. He's one of their illegitimate sons because they refuse to trade him. In fact, he gets the most minutes out of anyone on that team, regardless of his performance. It's just failure after failure. And now you refuse to give up draft picks, like first round draft picks. We don't want to give up the future for an all-star. What are y'all doing? And Steve Kerr, bro, I'm mad Steve Kerr doesn't call this out. You were on the Chicago Bulls. You saw what happened when they didn't want to run it back. They let you go, Steve Kerr. They let Pippen go. They let Phil Jackson go. They said, we're letting everyone other than Jordan go. If Jordan wants to come back, he can come back. But we're going to be tanking so we can win. And Jordan said, I'm out of here too then. And what has the Chicago Bulls done? Nothing. You were there, Steve Kerr, and the fact that you're letting history repeat itself, and now with Jimmy Butler out for this season, you got to trade him. Arguably, you had to trade him even before for another All-Star because there's only 2 max contracts available, and he's making $54 million per year. You got to trade him. You got to also trade Kuminga. You got to turn some of these pieces around. You got to give Milton more minutes. But the notion that they're ruining his career, yes, because if this was LeBron James would have done one of 2 things. He would have taken all these young guys and gotten them traded, led GM mode for a real deal superstar, and he would build or get some better role players on this team. Or 2, he's out of town. Now, Steph Curry is loyal as they come, but at this point, it's a fault to not put pressure on the front office.